Why are we so engaged outside of our country when in-house? We don't even have to talk about the divisive like the border, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know why is divisive.
Right.
But look at the roads.
Yeah.
Like, look at the poverty in our country. Go to California and look at that mental health crisis that's just festering and growing and getting bigger. And look at the migration that's happening in this country. I mean, you'd be lucky to find an OG Tennessean in this state. It's all people from California, New York, Chicago, and they're all like they're fleeing.
They're escaping there.
But it's like, what's a carton of eggs now? Like $8? It was like $2.65 a couple years ago.
Yeah. Not
Like,
according to the press secretary.
You can't tell me that we should be sending all our money over. Look at this place. It's a f***ing disaster.
Yeah. There's no trajectory.
Chicago's like one of the most dangerous places on the planet.
Maybe we should move to El Salvador. It sounds like the leadership might have figured it out.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's my thoughts. And so, I mean, the Dick Cheney thing, like, we have to give context behind that if we're going to bring it up. Look,
Yeah.
Dick Cheney was the CEO of Halliburton.
Right.
KBR is a subsidiary company to Halliburton. Dick Cheney was then the vice president of the United States. And then almost...
Major shareholder.
Yeah, right? And then we use KBR for the logistics company in Iraq and Afghanistan, while Dick Cheney is the vice president.
Yeah.
You think that's just a coincidence?
Yeah. Major military DoD contractor.
Yeah, so let's talk about, you were there, KBR, chow halls, mail runs, all the building, fuel cells, every piece of logistics in country in Iraq and Afghanistan was KBR Halliburton.
Yeah.
Whose previous
billions and billions
CEO
of dollars
just happens to be the vice president of the United States. You don't think this was a setup? Give me a break, dude.
Yeah.
Pull your head out of your ass and wake up.
Yeah.
I didn't know that when we were in.
No.
I probably wouldn't have cared. No, I would have cared.
Yeah.
I was young. But now looking back, it's like, how did everybody miss this?
Well, yeah, and this is stuff that journalists should be talking about.
They can't.
They can't. Hey, look, term limits in Congress and no lobbying, and this country would be pretty cleaned up.
Yeah.
With those two things. That stems, though, those types of things, those types of wars, really, I believe, has stemmed to a major problem in our country. And I believe it's a major national security problem. It's my last question for you. Is military recruiting down 35%. The numbers kind of vary, but we're pretty much down 30. Whatever the percentage is, it's the lowest since Vietnam with the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy families like mine who did 84 years of service, especially in special operations community. I know a lot of team guys and recon guys that their sons worked their whole life, and now their kids are not going to go in and be legacy families because the fathers don't trust the administration in these wars. How detrimental is this to America to have a military that can't recruit the next generation of warfighters?
We've got a lot of enemies out there, right? We've got people trying to take the U.S. dollar away from being the world's currency. We have China, we have Russia, we have Iran, we have, and our enemies are just growing and growing and growing because we just keep weaponizing the dollar and starting wars and funding both sides of wars. And so we have a ton of enemies. We have all these people filtering in through the southern border and probably the northern border as well. Do the math.
Yeah.
Do the math. On top, how much of a threat is it? I don't know. I think a lot about these things. Sometimes I wonder, maybe they're restructuring because mean, I because I don't believe it 100%, but there's a part of me that wonders, well, look, maybe warfare is just developing into something more advanced. Maybe the next generation of warfighters is a bunch of cyber warriors like Ryan Montgomery
I was gonna say that.
and
Yeah.
Bryce Case Jr.'s. Certainly would probably be a lot more effective than the kind of stuff me and you were doing.
Yeah.
The new generation might be looking at us like
Neanderthals.
we look at Civil War, like, man, you guys are just going to line up and like, all right, here we, and so maybe warfare is just developed. I mean, space, from what I understand, is like, who told me this? I can't remember who told me this, but space, like real estate attorneys, is like one of the fastest growing. One of the fastest growing like job opportunity type. I know I'm missing the word, but I was talking to somebody. Somebody who would know, and they told me that, and I was like, no kidding, like space real estate. They're like, yeah, there's thousands and thousands of satellites up there, and like,
I was gonna say it's infinite.
Yep. And so, maybe warfare is just developing, and they don't need the typical knuckle dragger like you and I out there anymore. Maybe it's developing into something new. That would be my hope.
That'd be a best case scenario.
That's probably just, hey, you can shit in one hand and wish in the other and see which one fills up first.
So at this stage in your life, like knowing what you know now, how do you process your service, your time deploying, and things like that?
When it comes to the military-industrial complex,
That's right,
and all the stuff we just talked about, Dick Cheney,
Yes.
and all these other companies. I mean, look, we were there as a country for the wrong reasons. We went to Iraq, we destroyed it. We went to Afghanistan, we destroyed it. But we were there for the right reasons. And even with all the shit that the United States put us into that we probably shouldn't have been in, I mean, look at all the good things that happened because people like you and I were there. Women were able to vote. Women were able to get an education in these places where that was unheard of, never been heard of, in places like this. And I mean, there was a lot of women's rights that happened. There were a lot of bad people in both of those theaters that did get eliminated. And so we were able to give those people a glimpse of what life could look like if they fight for their freedom,
Yeah.
And once you taste that, you never forget it,
That's right.
and so that's how I process it, is we were there for the right reasons. Most of us were.
Yeah,
and,
as service members.
And a lot of good happened
Yeah.
because we were there.
I agree with you 100%.
No credit to the U.S. government, though.
No.
So
No. This is a tough one. I struggle with this one right now. I have two sons that served as Marines. One served in Afghanistan, the other still in. And I get asked this question a lot. What would you tell a young man or woman right now that's thinking about joining the military, if they should or should not join because of our administration, because of the types of things our government's involved in? Is the United States military still worth serving in?
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, we live here, so I'm going to be honest, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I'm very torn on that question and or the answer to that question. And one, I would say it comes down to a couple things. Look around you and see what the military values are now, and if that aligns with you, then join. And if it doesn't, then maybe you shouldn't. If you do join and they don't align with you, well, then remember that when you get up there in the ranks, because what seems to happen to everybody is they get in and you get these lifers, officers, and they stay in there for 20 plus years and they start making policies, and the policies aren't made for the betterment of the unit, the betterment of the military, the betterment of national security. They're made for the betterment of what that person's going to do when they leave. Are they going to go work for Lockheed Martin and get a multi-million-dollar year salary? You know, are they going to get paid off by some lobbyist, some in D.C.? And that's where it all starts to change, you know. And so when you do join, if you are going to stay in for life and you do start hitting those ranks, then keep that in mind when you get up there, because that's the only thing that is going to get this to turn around, is getting some leaders in there that have a spine.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I'm torn. I've talked to so many career military guys, particularly from the special operations community, that have sons, and they're advising their sons not to join. And it's I get it, but it's scary to me because I love our country, and we have to have a military service, right? We have to. You can't have a country without having a military to protect it. And
here's
so
the good news: we got a Second Amendment, right?
Yeah.
And so if anybody invades this country, guess what? We're all in the military now.
We're all in it. Yeah, we are.
But you don't have to join to go fight whoever is in office their war so that they can get paid by the military-industrial complex companies to start a war. You know, this country is defendable. It would be one of the hardest countries in the world, maybe the hardest, because of the Second Amendment to do a takeover.
Yeah, that's why they probably want to take it away from
so
us.
So go buy a gun.
Yeah, go buy Smith & Wesson. I think you probably can't say that.
Yeah, go buy a Smith & Wesson, what, a 500 Magnum.
Yeah, yes, 500 Magnum.